Hi, welcome to the Kitchen Shrink, where real life meets real talk. We're Kat and Cal, two therapists, not your therapists, just helping make sense of relationships, emotions, and everything in between. Pull up a chair and let's sort through it together.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode. We got a message from a listener who said, lately, I feel emotionally numb. I'm not deeply sad, but I'm not excited about everything either. I scroll on my phone, avoid things I know that would help me feel better, and then judge myself for wasting time. Why do people get stuck in these cycles even when they want to change? And how do you start getting momentum again when everything feels mentally heavy? Oh, hey, that's a great question. And honestly, I kind of feel like that is a universal feeling for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just very relatable. And I think in a world where we have so much access at our fingertips with social media, it can be really easy to train our brains to kind of tune out from other things. And then whether that keeps us distracted or keeps us emotionally numb, just giving us little dopamine hits here and there, we can kind of avoid things a little bit easier maybe nowadays.
Yeah, and we'll kind of sort through on this episode too. Is it rest or is it avoidance, and how you'll know the difference in the two of those. But I think this is a good topic. I mean, this can touch on shame, serious system overload, motivation, modern life, emotional survival all at once. I mean, this emotional numbness is often just our nervous system hitting the brakes. It's not a character flaw. That's where the shame comes in. So let's kind of maybe slice that a little bit thinner as we go into what's going on when we're feeling system overload and we're feeling kind of numb and we just don't have the access to maybe the happiness and the joy that we have had in the past. It's a thing for people for sure. Yep. So let's talk about, confusing shutting down with laziness. Right? And this kind of goes into, is this rest? Do I need a shutdown? Or is this laziness? So I think, if you feel more alive after you rested, it was probably rest. If you feel more ashamed afterward, then it was probably avoidance. Sometimes, we got to figure out, why am I doing this? If I just need the rest, hey, go for it. Listen to your mind, listen to your body. If you're feeling shame, we're going to work on identifying that as well. If that's the thing that comes before the shutdown, what's your narrative? What are you telling yourself about why you need this rest? That's a super important piece here.
Yeah, because I think, some people are trained through like hypervigilance, hyper-responsibility, really having to be good achievers. And so rest can feel very uncomfortable. Like you can almost have ideas of like, I'm lazy or like this is bad or wrong or, we call it bed rotting. And that doesn't give a positive connotation to being able to take rest or what do they call it? Like a couch potato, it kind of gives sort of a lumpy sort of vibe to it when in reality, we do need system restoration in order to continue.
Absolutely. And I think this goes along with our blueprint growing up. I mean, what did you learn about rest growing up? What did you learn about self-care? I think about nothing for me. I did not learn a single thing. My parents work all the time. So I did not have a good model of life balance, I would say. It was very imbalanced with work, family, but work was number one a lot of the time. So, I think if you take a break and you live in that setting, it does probably bring some shame or questioning, why do I need to do this? Nobody else is doing this around me. I mean, we could really go to a place of shame. And I think,
especially with comparison traps, if you think about it, because I learned responsibilities before rest. And so as a mom or a wife or an employee or whatever, there's always more things to do. There's really never any finished responsibilities to allow yourself rest.
Right.
And then you can compare, well, somebody else seems to be working more hours or their house is cleaner or they meal prep or they go to the gym or and then so you can increase the shame voice not only from how you were trained but also through comparing your life to other people's. And both of those things increase low motivation, not good enough, negativity, and some none of that produces more motivation to go do stuff. If anything, it would just make you want to do less.
Oh, you're just beating yourself down, right? So, and I think we judge ourselves for symptoms that we would have so much compassion for other people. I mean, if our best friend said, I'm burned out, or I just need to lay down for a bit, you'd be like, oh my gosh, you should definitely do that.
Yes.
You've been working so hard. Take a break, right?
You should have a sick day, but not me.
Yes.
No. I got things to do.
You should have a mental health day. What a great idea. I used to tell my kids in high school, hey, you guys get a mental health day. They were good kids, good solid students, and I knew that they wouldn't overuse or abuse it. And I think, each of them at least once throughout their high school career took a mental health day.
Well, and you have to think how you're training their nervous system to be able to respect its amount of overload. Most of us, we don't learn how to respect our nervous system's signs and signals that there's at overload, and so we do get sort of that protective response where eventually we just sort of shut down. And sometimes this happens to people when they go on vacation. All of a sudden they get sick.
Oh my
and they're
gosh.
on vacation.
Yes, you're so jacked up and working on packing for everybody and all the things, and did I bring this, did I bring that, and your nervous system's just like 100 miles an hour, and then you go on vacation and you're there 2 days, and then like boom,
Sick,
your body's
tired,
like,
yeah.
I'm sick, I'm out, we're not doing anything on this vacation. There's got to be so much intentionality prior to that, so you don't overload yourself, which is another whole episode probably. But I do think, let's talk about the nervous system a little bit and signs, and it may look differently for everybody. How do you know you're coming up on burnout? I think burnout is kind of what happens when we do too much, and we think too much, and we worry too much, and we physically do too much. And if we don't have signs for us individually on, hey, I'm approaching my crazy train's about ready to pull out of the station here, I'm about to have a meltdown, we have to really know what our system is saying to us and be aware of that. So I think that awareness piece is really important for each of us, and it's not going to look the same for everybody, right? Like what all of a sudden, you don't want to just hit the couch and be down for 3 days. You kind of hope that you're able to see that coming a little bit, and whether it's, I don't know, I just feel a little more sleepy throughout the day. I don't want to feel like I want to connect with people as much. I mean, those are some signs for you to say, hey, what's my nervous system telling me? Slow down, take some rest.
And I think you're right. It is a lot of slowdown, because I can tell you, I used to be a kind of person who'd be like, I'm fine, until I wasn't fine. And I didn't know what caused me to cross over to that bridge of like, all of a sudden I'm emotional and I feel like I can't do life. And it turned really dramatic really quickly for my body. And as a person who's done a lot of work on this now, I recognize that like, oh, your system is telling you. It's telling you through your desire to have like sweets in the afternoon, or a little bit more caffeine, or like to check more things off a list, and then you'll be able, and you're trying to accomplish it through like this external checklist to make you feel better. If only I do more, then I'll be able to relax more or whatever. And it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, there is no end to what can be done. So you really, when your body's trying to find relief, it's going inside and saying, okay, I need to check out a little bit. And we're not taught to meditate, to do calming activities. Like what the most we do is like take a bath, like, oh, you're allowed to do that, or maybe get your nails done or your hair. Like it's still on a list of like to-dos. Well, so
I think too, I was thinking about how our brains, we just, there's so much doom scrolling, and we're on our phones and just society. And can we all agree that like this is just a crazy time to be alive? I feel like we're just eating emotional junk food all day, and then we wonder why we're feeling emotionally and mentally bloated, right? I mean, and that's a part of what you are in control of. Like what are you doing that's maybe causing some of this? If there's stuff in your control, we got to hit the brakes and be aware of that and do less of that. Oh, it's exhausting, right?
Well, and a lot of people don't know, but there is an entire part of your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, and that is a part of your brain that is actually grown through challenge. And so if you're just like, you're talking about just like this emotional bloating, well, there's a whole part of your brain that is not being utilized, and any weak muscle you have, it has to be trained through the process of kind of like doing the hard thing. And sometimes the hard thing is resting. Sometimes the hard thing is slowing down.
Right.
Sometimes the hard thing is challenging an old belief that says you better do more, you better try harder. Sometimes it's challenging us to get outside instead of scrolling our phone, but are we really listening and then allowing ourselves the chance to, grow ourselves by respecting ourselves, giving ourselves emotional regulation, or recognizing error detection, something that's feeling off inside, having that cognitive flexibility, shifting attention, and having persistence through discomfort.
Right on. Well, I think paying attention to that, I mean, the good news is, guys, is you don't have to feel fully motivated just to even begin to reconnect with your life, right? Even if you can say, I can begin to believe that I can reconnect with my life. Sometimes we got to slice it a little thinner if we're feeling really unmotivated. Sometimes we just have to believe that we can begin to believe that we can feel more reconnected with our life. So we want to go easy, right? We don't want to, you can't just go 0 to 100. I mean, we want to take some little, maybe some little steps where, it might look like just a tiny little behavioral shift. So instead of going for an entire workout, maybe we just do a workout for one song. Maybe we stand outside for a couple of minutes and take in the fresh air and practice some gratitude of just being alive and seeing the sun or some rain or flowers. Maybe we text one friend. Or maybe we wash one dish. I mean, we're kind of trying to break that down for you to kind of understand what it looks like so I can start to feel little wins along the way so I don't feel so overwhelmed that, oh my God, I just have to pull myself out of this state like that. Nope, we don't want you to do that. It's going to take a little bit of time to kind of reset your narrative as well. What are you telling yourself about why you're in this slump? That matters.
Yeah. And I think that, we don't often realize how much dopamine is such a positive factor in kind of motivating us. And that, they say that just by creating a checklist and checking off things, you increase dopamine in your brain, giving yourself a high five, whether through the hand or through the mirror,
yeah, girl. There it is.
That those are small ways too to be proud of yourself. So when I, as an overfunctioner, had to learn to rest, I would literally, this is a true story about myself. So I can disclose this because I'm not talking about a client, I'm talking about myself. But I would sit in my living room and I would see the mess of kids and be like, you're just going to sit for 5 minutes in this space and know that it's going to be okay. That rest had to be learned. My nervous system had to learn that rest was okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Set a timer for 5 minutes, right? I will rest for 5 minutes, or I will take a nap, or I will respond to only 2 emails instead of 20. I need to learn to break things down in ways where I am allowing myself humanity instead of perfection.
Yes.
And
I love it.
And check it off a list.
Right.
Give yourself a high five. I'll do a thing with clients where we're like, this is a moment where we pat ourselves on the back. Like, you're actually going to pat yourself on the back.
I'll wait for you until you do that.
Because you deserve to feel good doing hard things.
Right.
Not through overstressing yourself, pushing yourself, forcing yourself, trying to get yourself out of a mood, trying to be better than you are in the moment. A lot of what we need is some self-acceptance. That a low mood, it does not mean laziness for life.
Right.
Sometimes it comes like a wave and it passes. And can we allow that without fixing, solving, correcting, changing, adjusting? Be a little kinder to yourself. Pat on the back when you can.
Right.
Put it on a list and say, check, check.
Yes.
I rested.
That's right. And you know what? Hey, that might seem like daunting for some, but I think that's a great plan to kind of help, shift yourself out of this. And again, we don't want to completely change ourselves. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's just these little wins that we have along the way. So it's not to, become this completely different person. It's really just to kind of interrupt the shutdown gently, right? So we can start to feel good about why we're doing it. But I think, our narrative around it, like we said earlier, it matters.
I would say that first tool would be kind of doing some of those physical things.
Yes.
The second tool, I think, is what you're sharing. Go ahead with how
what
you talk to yourself.
What is your narrative and how you talk to yourself? Oh my gosh, you guys, I heard a great line last night and it said, what's in your soul is in your cells. And so, if you're constantly telling yourself, well, I'm just lazy, I'm a beepity beep or whatever, and I don't have any motivation, and everybody around thinks me that I'm lazy, and we keep on that negative. That's in your soul, but it's in your cells. Your body is going to feel that. And so even if it feels, this is where we do the CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy. Even if it feels like, well, that doesn't feel true to me at all, that I can begin to believe that I can be motivated. Okay, then we're on the right track, right? So you want to start to tell yourself, so you can create your neuro pathway to think something completely different about downtime and resting and repair. So right now, if your narrative is, well, I'm just being lazy, I taught that I was lazy, I was a lazy good nothing, blah, 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 because I didn't help out, then you're going to continue in that narrative, and then you're just keep forming that, your neural path on that. That's your truth. So it's really hard, especially when you have somebody that's, 30, 40, 50 years of that narrative of this is lazy, right? This isn't lazy sometimes, but most of the time, it's just we're overwhelmed in this crazy world, and we have to begin to allow ourselves time to rest. It's so important. So you just start switching with little cognitive thoughts, and it could just be something like, I can begin to believe that today is going to be a better day. I can begin to believe that I can do a few dishes. You got to start simple and get some wins and give yourself a pat on the shoulder over this. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck. And here's what I say. I like to hold out my two hands in front of each other like I'm about to clap, but I'm not going to clap, about a foot apart. And I say, if you're over here on the left, and then there's a big space in between where you want to be over here on the right. The space in between is not about time. Well, in 6 months, I'm going to feel this way. It's about decision and choice every single time.
Absolutely.
Yes, this is your, CBT. Each time I start to think that, oh, I'm just being lazy and I'm just this piece of crap or whatever goes through your head, each time you choose to think that, you're going to continue to stay stuck over here on the left and you're not making any progress towards the goal over on the right. So what you want to do is have that mindfulness and catch yourself like, oh man, I'm really beating myself up right now. I'm telling myself I'm lazy, I'm a piece of good, no, nothing, blah, blah, blah. You got to stop that. You hit your pause. And it's okay if it takes you a second to think of what I should be thinking or what I would rather be thinking. And you just begin to believe, you know what, I'm okay as I am. Motivation isn't far from reach. I've got what it takes to get up and do a hard thing today. Something as simple as that can literally bring you closer to the right side. And that's what you need. A different message each time.
And I was also going to say that there's a book called Silencing the Inner Critic by Jody Bates that can help with some of that internal narrative voice that can get really negative too. So if you want some extra resources, feel free to check out that book.
Okay, nice. Yep. All right, where else are we going with this? I'm always about being kind to yourself and the message that you're telling yourself about yourself. It matters, guys. It really does. So if you're, got that negative core belief about yourself, again, like we said, we're two therapists. We're not your therapist. But if that is something that brings you down, please seek some local therapy and start to rewire your narrative of who you are. I think we're all born worthy, and then it's maybe parents unintentionally or teachers or siblings that start to give us a different message about ourselves. It could be, I'm not good enough, I can't do anything right, I'm unlovable, whatever that is. We want to challenge the validity of that and say, wait a minute, where did I learn that? That wasn't about me, that's not true about me. So that's kind of a little side note, that if you're continually struggling with a negative core belief about yourself, please go get some therapy outside of our podcast and try to rebuild that narrative to something healthy and more positive for yourself.
And my last tool, I think, if we're just going to leave people with active things between the two that we've talked about. I'm so sorry, guys. We're two therapists with two therapy dogs, and so there are going to be times in the background where you hear puppies.
Yep.
But along that line, the third one I would say is it does sometimes help to have a good friend, a partner, a buddy who, when you are in those low spaces, like just being vulnerable with somebody else and like helping somebody else who can find your wins, and that you guys can do that for each other, because it can be hard to change our mind by ourselves, but when we can find other people to work on those things with us. Yes. I remember it's been at least 10 years now, one of my really good friends said, what are 5 things you like about yourself? And I was like so challenged with that question.
I love that.
And it started us on a journey of like, we now need to start practicing finding things we love about ourselves and really meaning it. Like, and some of that was really challenging at first. And so it does help to have another person who you can work on it together, and then you get new ideas. Like, what would you say about me in this moment? How would you be the one telling me to rest, or would you tell me like, hey, you have taken actually 7 days off this month, and maybe you should go to work today.
Ooh, I like that idea. I know sometimes we get in a hole and we just can't see really anything good about ourselves. So that's a great idea, Kat, is to a good friend, somebody that can hold up the mirror and say, look, these are some really good parts of you that you've kind of lost sight to. So great reminder. And let's challenge you guys. I'll challenge our listeners. Sit and think of 5 things that you really do like and love about yourself. And if they don't feel true at all, I think you're on the right track. Even if you can say, I can begin to believe that this is true about me, you're on the right track, guys. So, hey, thanks for hanging out with us at the Kitchen Shrink today. We're so glad you showed up. Be kind to yourself and stay connected. We're Kat and Kel, and we are here for you. Real talk, real tools, real life.